Okay, so welcome to this event of intro. This is part of the Intro Academy sessions, which is usually, well, those are usually run by Ron Efroni. Unfortunately, he has a death in the family and he went to Israel on an emergency, so he wouldn't be able to attend today. So I'm here, your host. Um, Today we have a really interesting speaker. Um, Her name is Irene Koehler, and she is a social media and personal branding strategist, basically helping people define, improve, and we'll hear from her what she's doing, how she is helping them uh, create and maintain their personal branding. She's going to talk about the whole subject, and I'll just give the baton to you, Irene. Thank you for coming over and agreeing to speak, and we look forward to a really interesting discussion, starting with your talk, and then we'll have Q&A, and we'll see how it flows. If
Okay.
anybody has questions, please use the chat. I'm following it.
Yeah. Thank you. Uh, so I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for taking the time to get to be able to have a conversation about personal branding. Uh, First thing I want to say before I introduce myself is Hakol Sababa. And all I can say is my from the recesses of my memory, Shachachti kol lamadati lifnei mea shanim or something like that. I don't know. It was 100 years ago. But I believe in you make an effort. um, uh, so uh, as Yuli said, we're here to talk about personal branding. This really is kind of just an overview, really an introduction to what personal branding is all about, and we will get into that. But first, just a quick introduction of myself. Let's see me. This is me. I teach the social media marketing program at San Francisco State. There are 4 courses that I teach there every semester. And in addition to my teaching, I have for over a decade been working with people and doing corporate trainings and doing a lot of one-on-one consultation with clients working on their personal branding. And my focus is I work with mid-career accomplished professionals and business owners to attract and build trust with their ideal audience in order for them to grow and prosper and find more success. So, and these are just some of the places where I have spoken. So just bring myself back here. And this is the, and I am enormous. Let me shrink myself here. This is what we're going to be focusing on today. Why should we be interested in personal branding? What isn't it? Because I find people have a sort of a very limiting idea of what it's all about. And then what should it be about? Some ideas just to get maybe your mind thinking about how you might approach it. Where might you start? And then at the end, if it's something that you're interested in and you would like some deeper, more comprehensive help with it, I'll tell you how. If you're interested in working with me, then I'll share that information with you. But this is the very high level of what we're going to be talking about. Yeah. So a number of you filled out, I think maybe about half of you filled out a survey, and thank you to everybody who did that when you signed up. And the results, honestly, were all over the map. There were, for example, there were a number of people who said, I think I know, I pretty much know what I should be doing with respect to personal branding. And an equal number of people who said, I have no idea where to start. So it was equal. So my goal today is not in this session, we're not able to talk about everything there is to know about personal branding and every action item that everything that you should be working with. It's to give you enough information so you can, one, decide, is this something that I'm interested in maybe spending more of my time? Is this something that matters to me? And what are some of the topics that I might consider or want to spend more time investigating or exploring? So I want to give everybody a little nugget that might be useful to them. All right, so a question, if you just want to type into the chat, and then I don't have visibility of the chat, but Uli's keeping an eye on it. I'm curious if you could just type in the answers to this question. Do you now have a personal brand? Just type into the chat. I'll give you a minute to do that. And I promised him I would not hold him responsible for a scientific analysis of the answers, but just wanted to get sort of an overall flavor of what your thoughts were, or sort of where you are. You do have one, you don't have one. So have you had, Uli, have you had a chance to?
Yes, it's about 60% yes, 40% no.
Okay. All right. That is not surprising. Oops. Okay. So what the first thing that I want to tell you is that you all have a personal brand, right? Now the question is it intentional? All of us have, if somebody wants to, let me ask you this also, and just type in the chat. If I wanted to know what your personal brand was, how would I find it? So just type in the chat how would I know that? What your personal brand is? So if I wanted to find out about you.
So people are still answering. I would say
yeah.
There is a lot of Google, a lot of LinkedIn, some Facebook and Instagram, and one really cool comment. It's what they say about me when I leave the room.
All right, somebody's read my notes. So hold that thought. Yes. So this goes together with the question of yes, no, do you have a personal brand? Because yes, you have a personal brand. All of you do. the question is, have you spent time really being strategic about it and intentionally figuring out what do I want that brand to represent, what's important to me, and a number of other things that we're going to talk about. Because what I tell people is brand or be branded, right? Is it going to be, are we going to be active or are we going to be passive about it? And what a number of people, and the answers that you gave, LinkedIn or Google, are the most common answers. I totally get both of them. And what many people say to me is that, well, I have a LinkedIn profile and that's where people find out about me. That's the professional buttoned up. That's where I am. That's my brand. But just because that's where we put thought into how we show up, that doesn't mean that somebody who wants to learn about us, which is every potential client, vendor, employer, coworker, somebody who might want to go on a date with you. I mean, it's just everybody. They're not going to LinkedIn just because that's where we put the organized, well thought out us. They're going to Google, right? And through Google, presumably, then they're going to Facebook and Instagram, and they're going everywhere else. So what I say about whether you brand or be branded, if we haven't put time to be thoughtful about how to put together some of the things that I'm going to be showing you, then what is branding you is a bunch of random Google results, right? That may be about you, that may be about somebody else. They may be things that you don't want people to find out. And they may be things that really are not negative at all, but given that we have people's attention for such a limited period of time, if I could decide what the first things are that I want you to know about me, those aren't them. So having on the second page of Google, or, something that's more interesting is not helpful necessarily. So I just want to make that point that you do have a brand. It's just about making the choice to be strategic and intentional about it. Okay, so so the question is, does it matter? Does it matter to have, a personal brand? And it's a reasonable question. Now, this is the harsh reality. We all are amazing people, right? We're incredible. You all are incredible. I have no doubt. And what you do it in a way that's different than other people do it. But on paper, like if we just wrote out our skills, like what a lot of people I work with, but I filled out my LinkedIn profile, right? I imported my resume, I listed my skills or my duties. But the fact is that on paper, just skill for skill, chances are you're not the only one that has those skills, right? And it's easy to get lost in the noise, get lost in the crowd. So the challenge is to stand out online as much as we do sort of in the offline world. Right now, it's difficult to think about that because right now everything's online, but to have that unique perspective and approach and point of view that you have, in addition to just your skills, because those together have to do with how you apply and how you execute what you know that is unique about you. So when someone is looking online to fill a job or to invest in a company or to whatever it is that they're looking to do, we may be the perfect answer to the need that they're trying to fill or the question they're trying to ask. But if we haven't done a good job of telling that story online and building that credibility online, other people have. There are other people who are doing this work and making their story and their background easily discoverable. So if we haven't done it, it's kind of a missed opportunity. So it matters. It does matter. And sometimes people think, oh, but when I get into the meeting, when I get into the interview, when I get onto the phone with them, then I'm really going to knock their socks off. Then I'm going to really show them that specialness. But we don't know about the phone calls we never get or the meetings we never get invited to because they've just moved on to somebody else and we were never even on their radar. So this, for those of you, this is an interesting statistic. I know from the survey that people had different reasons for why they're interested in personal branding. So for those of you who may be interested from a job search perspective, just take a look at this. 95% of recruiters say this. There's nothing surprising about this. And it very much matches this number that now only 4% of them say they're not using social media. And notice it doesn't say LinkedIn, right? It's not like limited to that one little place where I want the recruiter to look. They're looking all over the place. And for those of you maybe who are not interested in the job search career perspective, but maybe are looking to build credibility for your company, it makes a big difference to customers, to employees, to investors, to a number of different ways to see senior executives active on social media and makes them seem more authentic, more accessible. So there are various reasons from different perspectives that being active and having a personal brand and putting it together in a way that tells the story of who you are and what's important to you can play a large role in connecting with the people that you want to connect with. And this is this quote is from Zig Ziglar. You could see if people like you, they'll listen to you, but if they trust you, and trust is something that's built over time. It's something that's earned, and building a personal brand can go a long way toward helping with this. Okay, so let's talk about what it isn't. And all the things I'm going to show you, I hear this all the time. First of all, it's not magic. You don't set up an Instagram account or put a new profile picture on LinkedIn or something. All of a sudden, oh my God, it's just going to rain money. And people are just going to be calling you, and it doesn't work that way. This is like all good things. I mean, it takes time and it takes thought and attention to it. Many people tell me having a new website, that is what a personal brand is, or that a personal brand is all about developing a logo and choosing brand colors for your logo. No, it's not. It's not. That's such a shallow look. Also, posting, just because you post a lot on social media, it has nothing to do with a personal brand. And if you get a lot of followers, again, that doesn't mean that you have an intentional personal brand. I see a lot of people spending so much time and putting a huge amount of work into what they're doing online, but it's not being done in alignment with like a plan and knowing what they're trying to accomplish. And no, they end up being frustrated because they're not getting anywhere. So it's not that. So here's some examples and where I want to go deeper into what it is. So I want to give you some, now I am not suggesting that you need to go from 0 to 60 on this. That you need to either not be working on your personal brand today, and then boom, you need to be doing all of these things all the time, right? That's just not realistic. It's much better to have a more pared back approach. So and just choose a few things and be successful at that, rather than try to spread yourself too thin, trying to do too much of too many things, and then end up getting frustrated and overwhelmed and just forget the whole thing. Because that would be a shame. But I want to just go through each of these just to maybe have something sort of resonate with you and say, oh yeah, maybe that is something that I want to be sure that I want people to know about me. Yeah, that's something I want to give more thought to. So the first one, your talents. This includes your skills, but remember, it includes not just like resume kind of skills, which are like hard skills. It includes like soft skills. And I'll just say a word about soft skills. Have you ever seen in somebody's, on their resume or their LinkedIn profile, you can just go ahead and type in the chat. I won't ask you to say if it's you, just someone. Include the words like problem solver, team player, flexible, innovative, those kinds of words, right? Just go ahead and type yes if you've seen people using those kinds of words to describe themselves. Now, a couple things about that. One is we all like to think that we are, right? It's sort of like when people say like they have a sense of humor, right? And like everyone thinks they do, even though we look at them as like, what? They don't have a sense of humor. So it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to demonstrate it. So when I'm talking about your hard and your soft skills, rather than use those words to describe yourself, find ways to demonstrate it. Right? So maybe there are, and there's so many ways this can be done, by sharing a story about a project that you worked on. And maybe it was a project that required you to solve a problem. Something unexpected came up, and you had to quickly regroup, get some additional funding when you didn't think there was any funding, you know, something like that. So you want to demonstrate that rather than just anoint yourself with this label. So that's, again, we could spend a lot of time going into any of these areas. I just want to paint a very broad picture. So that's sort of in the area of talents. The next one, accomplishments. Accomplishments, again, if this is something that is part of what you want to be known for, rather than focusing on things that you've done, like I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, focus on accomplishments in terms of outcomes and results. What difference did it make to your company, right? You know, did it lead to, it's not like I filled out 10 forms. Okay, congratulations. But what difference does that make? But that enabled the company to 5x our, you know, our customer success rate, or whatever it was. What was the outcome of it? That's the story. The story is not the thing you did. Okay. Let's see. Okay. The next one are connections. So this is, again, if this is something that you think should be part of what you want to be known for, the story you want people to know about you, connections has a lot to do with it. I'm not going through these in order of priority. Everyone's brand will have different priority. It really depends on your goals, and we'll talk about this, but who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, who you're trying to, all of that. But these are some of the things to consider. So your connections, you have people that you know, like in the real world, but online, the people you're connected to are not only important to you, but they're also important in that they can open doors to others. Very often people, if they come across you online and see that you have mutual connections, that's a warmer, they might get a warm introduction from someone rather than, and they might be more inclined to want to get to know more about you if they see that you know 3 people that they know, right? Somehow that's some sort of comfort to them. So, you know, give some thought to who you're connected with. And if you're interested in if you've heard of this, the power of weak ties, it's something to look into, because that is, in networking terms, that's where people say more the magic happens. It's not with your first level connections, the people you don't know well, it's with the people that they know. That's where more innovative thinking and opportunity very often comes, but you have to have those common connections. Let's see. So the next one is generosity. And don't worry, I'm gonna take a breath after I go through this, and I'll take some questions. So go ahead and send your questions in. Let Uli know, and then I'll take a couple questions after this. So generosity. People say, what does that have to do with my personal brand? My personal brand is about me. It's me. It's everything that I'm about. What does generosity have to do with it? There's so many ways that this can be incorporated. But you want to be, most of us, want to be seen as not just a taker, right? As we want to be supportive of other people, if that's something that's important to how you want to be known, to share the spotlight with other people, to I mean, it can be anything small from when you see on LinkedIn or somewhere else, people sharing their career accomplishments, people completed an exciting project, they got some sort of acknowledgement, or they have a problem and they're really seeking some advice. Engage with them. There are many people who say that the way to be memorable is to remember other people, right? I mean, we can't expect that we're just going to be shouting our personal brand. I'm about this. I have just figured out my brand. I do this and I do that. And here's what's unique and special about me. And expect people to engage with that when we're not engaging with what they're all about. And look, another way to be generous is if you have a particular is like, what is it? Liam Neeson in the film when he says, "I have a particular set of skills." If you have a unique take on some news or a process or procedure in your industry, where you might be able, when you have something that others might benefit from learning about that, then teach it. Record a video of 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is, and teach somebody, show it, because that demonstrates not only what you know, but how you would approach something in a way that's different than others. And so it showcases you, but also shows that you're generous in teaching it to other people. Again, I'm throwing a bunch of ideas at you, and you figure out sort of what lands and what you think, aha, yeah, that might be a fit for me. Anyway, lots of stuff. Okay. The next one that may be part of your what you want to cover in your brand are your value. What is important to you? What do you care about? Is there something in the industry that draws you to it? Is there, like, do you have purpose? Do you have so what your values are, like to your core, is that something that you would want to spotlight some way as part of your brand and what you're all about? Interest. Sometimes people they don't want to talk about their interests because this is a professional brand. Why would I be talking about the fact that I go cycling all the time, or I love to hike in the hills, or whatever it is that you're interested in, or you teach coding to high school kids. People don't want to, not only do they want to know what you know, but we want to be around people that we like, right? Not only that are reliable and they're smart and they know what they're doing, but we enjoy them. And somebody who is 100% business. I'm not going to say nobody would want to work with them, because there probably are. But we find connections with people in all different ways. Um, some of it is, we connect about, a common job that we had, or we both like cycling or whatever it is. So, that may be part of it as well. And finally, opinions are important. We often try so hard to be, particularly when creating a personal brand, to be very bland, right? We don't want to like take a position because we don't know how others may take it. And I'm not saying that part of your personal brand is opinionated, like politically, or, but there are a lot of people who have decided that, because that it's not just an opinion, maybe that's like a core value to them, and that's something that they acknowledge may resonate with some people and may not. But at least when there are with opinions with regard to if there's an industry news, I just think, I just randomly picking something. I mean, I do a lot of work with social media. So there was news today about the Justice Department going after Facebook and looking about breaking up Facebook. And, that could be something that I may post a piece about, but not just saying, hey, people, here's a piece of news, but take a position, right? This is something that I absolutely think should be done, and here's the reasons, or I don't think it should be done, and here's the reasons. Taking a controversial opinion when it's thought out can tell us something about you, but also showcase how you how you reason through things. You have an opinion and it's well thought out. Again, if that's something that's important to you, then that has value. And people are very interested in that. So those are just an overview. I know I went through that really quickly, of some examples of things that you may include in your brand. And just to hone in on one point, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with mullets. It was, I'm dating myself, but hopefully you know what mullets are, the hairstyle. And what a lot of people used to say about the mullet is that it's business in the front, party in the back. What I would say for your personal brand is business in the front with some personality in the back. It's not all business. You want to infuse maybe not all of the elements that I just talked about, but some of them in a way that aligns with who you are, what's important to you, and do it in a way that's optimized so you stand out and can be discovered by the people that you want to be discovered by. So with that, I'll take a breath. And Uli, do you have any questions about any of that? Hello?
I was speaking fluently about stuff that is really important, but I was muted, so sorry.
Oh,
Yeah. So one question was people are asking to clarify the people trust companies with their execs active on social media. What do you mean by that? So basically, you were talking about the posting and trust, talking about trust as part of the trust in a company. So what's the connection between trust in a company and execs writing in social media or expressing in social media?
Right. So that's a really good question, because it doesn't necessarily seem to like connect, but but there've been many studies that have shown this, because we consumers in general, we don't like companies. We like people who work for companies. We like people who run the companies, rather than the company is an impersonal entity. So the more, and obviously, I mean, I understand this is all like a generalization, but so the more that we feel that we know who's running it, there's something in general in marketing and branding that is a continuum of know, like, and trust. That first, and there's a process of getting people to know us, and then we have more interactions with them, and then they come to like us, and then they come to rely on us as a trusted source of information. They know what to expect from us. So the more that people feel that they know who's behind a company, and they feel that they're like real humans, like they connect, it resonates, they can relate to them, because when they post things about, even though, I would never suggest that as part of your branding, all of you, or the executives, looking at branding does not mean start posting a bunch of, there's a difference between personal and private, right? You're not going to post, I wouldn't suggest post like photos of like where you are with your kids, or some of that, but there's still general information for sure that you can post. But when executives or senior level people do that, they feel that they have some insight into who is running the company, and it makes them seem more accessible. That doesn't mean that every time you reply to their tweet or something, that they're going to reply to you. But there's a feeling that that this humanizes them. There's some other advantages to it also, but that's the general sense of it.
If I'm allowed, I agree, but only partially. When a brand is big enough, it does not matter. We can all hate Bezos and still be addicted to Amazon. Whatever he puts on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or what he doesn't, does not matter. We can hate, what was his face before, Safra, the CEO of Oracle, had the reputation of a a-hole. No company cared when they needed their database from Oracle. So it makes sense when it's a startup, when it's a smaller brand, that the relationship is really close. But I haven't seen that it matters when the brand is already recognized and present, that matters. It's great in disaster when you need to do damage control. But I think, for me at least, it's the blanket that you've put on it is a little too big from what I see in work, in reality, anywhere.
Yeah. I think your point is well taken. I think they're like, I definitely not saying 100% of the time. When you look at, there's some like Richard Branson, Elon Musk, there's some, high level incredibly well-known executives who do have, just a ton of engagement, and people feel that they understand them. But anyway, that's, I would just kind of separate that in its own category. That is not, but I don't think that should limit in any way thinking about amongst this group, like our own personal brands. And there never is nothing I'm saying is 100% true in all circumstances for all people, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of, you were talking about this is a process, it takes time.
Yeah.
What kind of expectations, this is like a year, 5-year program in order to see change? Clearly not one day, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you, I just want to do a time check because there's more to go through, and
Let's move forward then.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me just keep going, and I want to share some ideas with you. So I want to give you, if you're starting your personal brand now, or you want to work on it, here's some ideas about some tips to get started. The first thing is to figure out what you're trying to accomplish. This is not a simple thing, but you want to know if you're going on a journey, you want to know the destination, right? Because if you don't know where you're headed and you're just wandering around, we'll end up frustrated because we didn't arrive at some place that was useful. You'll need to define what you're all about. What do you want to be known for? And I just showed you a number of elements that can be considered as part of that. But what do you want to be known for? And who are you trying to reach? And again, this can be not necessarily a simple question, because who are you trying to reach, and what is, and why do you want to reach them, and why would they be interested in what you have to share or what you're all about? So that there are a number of pieces to that, but that's the next thing really to define and figure out. And then you do an audit. You take a look. As I said, you have a brand now. And if it's not a brand that you have intentionally, strategically set up, or even if it is, you need to look around. And that includes doing some deep Google searches. A tip, I would suggest that you have someone else search for you, or log out of everything, just because if we do a Google search on ourselves, then the search results can look different for us because they know who we are. Anyway, so figure out all the information that's out there. So once we know what the story is that we're trying to tell, what are the values I want to communicate, what is that brand that I want to be known for, and then we're going to look at everything we can find on social media, on various websites, all of that. So you figure out, what do I want people to know about me, and what is the story that's being told about me right now? And that gap is the first place I start, right? Because we have some work to do to get there. And sometimes people ask me, well, if there's something on there that it's about me, but I don't want that to be the first thing that people see, we can't, if it's not something that you published yourself, you can't get rid of it, but you can create other content that ranks higher, right? So you just push it down. So once you find out, and if you haven't done this exercise before, you may find that there are a lot of public posts, people have tagged you in photos, all sorts of things. You just go through, look at your last, I don't know, 50, 100 tweets or Instagram or whatever. And if those are not part of how you want to be represented, and again, that doesn't mean that they can't be about things that aren't business. That's totally fine. But if you think that it doesn't align in some way, then it's time to change privacy settings, untag yourself, delete things, whatever, just to clean that up. Yeah. And then we begin to build the kind of presence that reflects what we do want people to find. So some other considerations that we don't have time to talk about, but I just want to sort of plant in your mind. Again, understanding who your target audience is, because not just like listing them on paper, but really understanding what is it about me that would interest them? Why would they be interested in your target, on how to optimize things to be searchable, social proof. You want to, it's one thing for me to say I'm great at doing something. It's another thing altogether to have other people say that they've worked with me or they've heard me speak or whatever, and they thought I was good at it. So, that's important. Again, examples of your work. It's similar to what I said about saying you're a team player or you're innovative thinker. Rather than saying things, it's prove it, really. It's not just talk about it, show your work. And sometimes if you don't have a website, you may create a website because without a website, everything we're setting up is on kind of rented land, right? It's not on a site that we control. So you may want to have your own website. Anyway, so that's the last bit that I wanted to cover. And we'll take questions in 1 second. I just wanted to show you, these are just testimonials of people that I've worked with in terms of their personal brand and some of the results that they got. But you can see these, there is a link that I'm not sure it will be shared or something. But anyway, if you wanted to connect. So I just wanted to cover that last bit. So I will take some more questions if there are more questions.
Yes, so there's a question. Can you please explain what between the difference between brand, what you want people to think about you, instead of, or compared to be authentic and brand yourself the way you are? So basically, the way you are might not be the way you want to be. I don't know. I mean,
well,
yeah.
Well, let me say this. I'm not 100% sure that I am clear on the question, but I would always encourage you to brand forward looking, right? Rather than, and sometimes I talk about, rather than looking in the rear view mirror and spending all this time to talk about things that you've done, look through the windshield. Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? And use what you've done and to demonstrate how you're ready for the next thing. Again, and you can do that through teaching, things that you've learned, and you're teaching new ways to apply those skills, or you've thought of creative things to do. But keep in mind, again, a lot of this depends on the phase of defining what your goal is. What do you want to accomplish? Are you looking to be found by investors? Are you looking for a new job? Are you looking to grow your career within your company? I mean, so when I'm speaking of generalities, because a lot of that differs depending on what you're hoping to achieve.
Okay. Guys, if you have any more questions, either type them in the chat, or I think that would be the best, because then we can moderate. In the meanwhile, first I wanted to say it was great. I really enjoyed the talk, and the content was amazing. And I think from the being also 100 years old or so, I can say that I learned a lot, so it was really great. So thank you very much for doing that. I did post the link, so people who are interested in connecting, the link is over there in the chat. You can always contact me, Uli, to contact me, and I can connect you. But basically, this has been great. So
yeah, thank you very much. And on all of those little icons, the Instagram, the LinkedIn, all of them, my username is Irene Koehler. So I would love to connect with any of you. Just send me a note, that you were in the talk. And I will definitely connect with you, or on Twitter, anything. And the link that you see on the screen is just to I do you'll see if you go to the link. I do just a free call if you want to chat about what your goals are, and what you think the next step might be, or maybe you might think that we might be a fit to work together. You might not. Anyway, it's a no charge call. But in any event, I would love to connect with you and just get your feedback and your thoughts about about what we talked about.
So what do you actually do, Irene? What is your process?
We talk about that in the call, but overall, it's going through in more depth. Some of what I showed here is understanding. We dive into what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish? Who are you trying to reach? And then we flesh out what you might be able to, depending on your background, how you might want to brand yourself. How does that then translate into content? There's strategy. There's a lot of strategy before getting to, you just start posting on Instagram or something. It's just really to figure out how you want to be seen, and then do it in a way that will be found by that audience.
So the process then seems that you develop a target goal, and then you work with the person to develop steps how to achieve that goal. And then do you also help that person create the content for those steps, or you just provide the path, and then you send them off, here, go do this or that?
No, we usually work on it. When I work with somebody, it's not just one session. It's creating, it's a process. I have a number of people that I work with over a few weeks, and then a number of people that I continue to work with like once a month. So some of the degree of follow-up varies depending on what they want.
And so just, because I'm trying to understand this. So what has been the outcome of these projects? Let's call them projects that
Mm.
you've worked on with these individuals or companies.
The outcomes have been, they have, again, I will make no promises, but I will, just because I think it's irresponsible. There are many people who have found new jobs, who have achieved what they were looking for, or something very similar to what they were looking for. But yeah, I mean, it's been very positive results.
Yeah,
but
I think there are, I think on your website, I think there are some success stories and references, and
yeah, definitely.
well, I think, since we're basically running out of time here, I suggest that, if you're interested, again, you can send me questions. I can send her, and she might be able to answer, and I can distribute it. But go connect with her. I think she'll do a much better job talking with you directly and answering questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are testimonials on the website. There, you can look at my LinkedIn profile. There's a bunch there. Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting up with my my terrible Hebrew.
Great. Yes, thank you very much, Irene, and everybody have a good evening, and stay safe. We're back to shelter in place, so hopefully it will be a short period of time.
Yeah.
And then the vaccine will save us all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I hope to hear from some of you soon. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.